Red Bull is in huge danger of losing Max as a leaked agreement has been revealed. Papaya rules are in question after Oscar's stellar performance, and Daniel's future is in trouble as Liam Lawson has been promised a seat for next season. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Red Bull F1 2025. Hopeful Daniel Ricciardo has revealed that he is increasingly motivated by inspiring the next generation of drivers as he enters the twilight of his F1 career. It comes amid mounting rumors that the veteran Australian could be replaced by New Zealand starlet Liam Lawson at junior team V-Carb for next season, and potentially before the end of the current campaign. Having tied Yuki Tsunoda to a new contract in June, V-Carb remain one of the few teams yet to finalize their F1 2025 driver lineup with Ricciardo and Lawson, Red Bull's highly rated reserve, in contention for the second seat. Lawson's prospects received a boost in June when long-serving Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko revealed the company's shareholders are keen to see V-Carb return to its Toro Rosso roots as a team to train young drivers. Marko doubled down on his stance last month by insisting that Lawson, 22, will definitely be in one of our cars next year. PlanetF1.com understands that a clause in Lawson's contract will allow him to cut ties with Red Bull entirely if he is not promoted to a permanent seat for next season, with Red Bull's option on the youngster believed to expire this month. Marko confirmed at last weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix that a decision on the second V-Carb seat will be communicated during the 4-week break between the next two races in Singapore and the United States. Ricciardo, who claimed all but one of his 8 career victories in a 5-year spell with Red Bull between 2014 and 2018, has largely struggled since his return to F1 in mid-2023, scoring points just 4 times in 25 starts. The 35-year-old recently told media that he is all in on remaining within the Red Bull framework for F1 2025 and has no interest in seeking opportunities elsewhere. In an interview with US-based television station CNN, Ricciardo reiterated that he doesn't wanting to be moving around too much at this stage of his career. And he revealed that he is increasingly keen to help the next generation of drivers to make it into F1. He said, "As a kid, I had the dream to be a Formula One driver, but I didn't necessarily think it would happen. Nobody had done it from Western Australia from my state. At the start of the season, I was not reaching my goals or reaching my potential, but managed to start turning that around. We have quite a new team, and definitely with that comes new targets and new opportunities, and for me, it's obviously to contribute, to help the team. I'd say at this point, I'm probably looking a bit more for that stability and just trying to set something down for these last few years of my career. I don't really want to be moving around too much anymore. Something I realize the older I get is that I do have that platform or ability, perhaps, to inspire someone else who was just like me at 5, 6, 10 years ago. I'd love to give a kid something to aim for. If it ended today, I would be proud of what I've done, but on the same note, you're never fully satisfied because the reason I got into Formula One was to try and become world champion. That's something I'll obviously still try and achieve until the day I retire." Ricciardo's comments come amid rumors that he could be replaced by Lawson following this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix. Marko has persistently outlined his desire for Lawson to race in some Grand Prix in F1 2024 ahead of a full-time promotion next season, raising the possibility that the Kiwi could race for V-Carb when the season resumes in Austin next month. Asked at the recent Italian Grand Prix if he is certain to see out the current season, Ricciardo told media, "Yeah, I mean, look, I say yes, but I've been in this long enough now, who knows?" If he is replaced by Lawson, it is unclear if Ricciardo would still be considered as a candidate to replace under pressure Sergio Perez at Red Bull for F1 2025. Perez came close to being dropped by Red Bull ahead of the summer break, before team principal Christian Horner confirmed that the Mexican driver would be retained entering the second half of F1 2024. The 34-year-old's form has tentatively improved since the season resumed, following up a 6th-place finish at Zandvoort, with 8th a week later at Monza. Perez had been on course for his first podium finish since April in Baku, where he qualified ahead of teammate Max Verstappen, before a dramatic crash with Ferrari's Carlos Sainz in the closing laps. Max Verstappen's father has a handshake agreement in place with Toto Wolff for the Red Bull driver to join Mercedes for the F1 2026 season, it has been claimed. Mercedes recently finalized their driver lineup for next season, confirming that teenage sensation Andrea Kimi Antonelli will replace seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton as George Russell's teammate for F1 2025. The decision to promote Antonelli came after persistent links of a move for Verstappen, with Mercedes boss Toto Wolff making no secret of his desire to sign the reigning three-time world champion as Ferrari-bound Hamilton's successor. Despite holding a contract until the end of the F1 2028 season, Verstappen's future has come under scrutiny this year in light of the heightened tensions between his father Jos and Red Bull team principal Christian Horner, as well as the declining performance of the RB20 car as F1 2024 has progressed. Having started the season with 4 wins from the first 5 races, Verstappen remains without a victory since the Spanish Grand Prix 7 races ago, his longest victory drought since the 2020 season. That poor run has seen Verstappen's lead over McLaren driver Lando Norris reduced to 59 points ahead of this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix, a race the Dutchman has never won. Meanwhile, Red Bull lost the lead of the Constructors' Championship for the first time since May 2022 in Baku last weekend, with McLaren ahead by 20 points with 7 races remaining. Red Bull have seen a number of senior figures depart over the course of F1 2024, with design guru Adrian Newey heading to Aston Martin and sporting director Jonathan Wheatley set to become Audi F1 team principal next year. On Wednesday, Red Bull announced a staff restructure in preparation for Wheatley's exit, with Verstappen's long-serving race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase promoted to head of racing amongst several other internal promotions. Lambiase will continue to serve as Verstappen's race engineer alongside his new role, which he will commence at the start of next year. A report by German publication F1 Insider has claimed that Newey's exit has been a particular blow to Verstappen, leaving a huge gap in the team. It is said that Newey is courting Verstappen to persuade the 26-year-old to follow him to Silverstone, with Verstappen telling reporters in Azerbaijan last weekend that a move to Aston Martin is something maybe for the future that I think about, but not now. However, it is claimed that Verstappen has already been lined up for a move to Mercedes for F1 2026, with rumors indicating that his father has struck a gentleman's agreement with Wolff to make the move to Brackley. The report claims that Verstappen Sr. and the Red Bull Stars manager Raymond Vermeulen are banking on Mercedes being the ones to ace F1's major technical regulation changes in 2026, when new engine and chassis rules, including a switch to 50% electrification and fully sustainable fuel, will come into effect. Having emerged as F1's dominant force under the last major engine changes in 2014, after which the team won a record 8 consecutive constructors' titles and 7 straight drivers' championships split between Hamilton, 6, and Nico Rosberg, 1. Mercedes' preparations for the 2026 rules are widely thought to be advanced. The 2026 season will see Red Bull powered by their own in-house powertrains division, while current suppliers Honda will reunite with Newey at Aston Martin. Despite Honda's success with Red Bull over recent years, it is claimed that there are fears over whether Honda will be able to keep up from the outset with their competitors, having originally withdrawn from F1 at the end of Verstappen's maiden title-winning season in 2021. Although Verstappen is officially contracted to Red Bull for the next 4 seasons, it is said that his deal would prove no obstacle to a move to Mercedes due to the presence of exit clauses, which the world champion can use for 2026 under certain conditions. Speaking to media at last month's Dutch Grand Prix, Horner was adamant that Verstappen will remain with Red Bull for as long as the team can provide him with a competitive car. Yet he conceded that performance clauses could prevent Verstappen from seeing out the entirety of his Red Bull deal. Horner said, "I find it surprising how much discussion in the open media there is about this topic. The situation was always clear between ourselves and Max, and I think that others can talk, but we're comfortable with where we're at. It's down to us to deliver. We have an agreement until 2028, so it's down to us to deliver. I didn't see Toto's car performing that well at Zandvoort. 2028 is a long way away. It's down to us to provide a race-winning car. Every contract has a performance clause element in it. We're not going to talk about what those elements are, but as long as we provide a competitive car, we know what the situation is." Mercedes opted against specifying the exact length of Antonelli's contract when announcing the 18-year-old's promotion, while the 2-year extension signed by new teammate George Russell last summer is set to expire at the end of next season. Appearing on Sky F1 at the recent Italian Grand Prix, Rosberg claimed that Russell is not safe at all at Mercedes and described the 2025 season as a shootout between the British driver and Antonelli to become Verstappen's 2026 teammate. He said, "George Russell is not safe at all because Toto still wants Max and he will try again for 2026 because give up does not appear in Toto's vocabulary. If Max does become available, and I do think it's a possibility, then it is a shootout between George and Kimi next year. And it's a lot of pressure on George because he has everything to lose really next year. He should be the one ahead internally because Kimi is 18 and he's completely new and in a full pressure situation. It's not an easy situation there for George." Conceding he is drawing big conclusions from small moments, Damon Hill wonders whether Max Verstappen was calm in the face of his Baku troubles because he knows the situation will change. And by that, he doesn't mean Red Bull have found their eureka fix. He means the triple world champion could have already decided to leave for pastures new. Despite being out-qualified by Sergio Perez and lacking grip around the streets of Baku, there were no radio rants or feisty moments from Verstappen during Sunday's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Even the moment that Lando Norris overtook him 3 laps from the end went by without Verstappen defending hard or trying to fight back. 1997. World champion Jacques Villeneuve, who was a guest pundit on Sky, was perplexed by the lack of fight from the reigning world champion. "Max for the last few races sounds downbeat," he said. "He's not even feisty in the race and doesn't fight that hard. Even on the radio, we barely hear him. Something has changed." Hill agrees that something has changed in Verstappen's demeanor. Asked about this in Sky's post-race podcast, Villeneuve's former teammate and the 1996 world champion admitted that while he does not always agree with Jacques, on this, he has to. Villeneuve has got some pretty strong opinions, and some of them are quite shocking in the first, and you kind of go, "What's he mean by that?" He continued. "And actually, when you listen to him again, I get what he's saying completely, and I agree with that. I do think there's almost like a resignation with Max. Now, if that's true, what could? I mean, I was expecting more of a toys out the pram experience, being that he wasn't competitive. He's normally very feisty on it with his comments and demanding and basically saying, I'm not dealing with this, it's no good, it's got to change. And he has said a few things, but I think maybe he can see that within the team there are such substantial problems that it's no good him just coming on the radio and saying, I'm not happy. That then begs the question, what's the reason for the change? Hill says maybe it's that Verstappen knows he won't be in the situation for much longer, as he's already decided to leave Red Bull with both Mercedes and Aston Martin courting his services. I mean, there's been all sorts of talk about him talking to other teams, said Hill. He's got to think of the future. Where is the direction of travel from now on if Red Bull are not competitive? And so those things can. Maybe he's got his future sorted out, you know. Maybe he doesn't have to rant because he knows it's going to change. Asked about this in Sky's post-race podcast, Villeneuve's former teammate and the 1996 world champion admitted that while he does not always agree with Jacques, on this he has to. Villeneuve has got some pretty strong opinions, and some of them are quite shocking in the first, and you kind of go, what's he mean by that? He continued. And actually, when you listen to him again, I get what he's saying completely, and I agree with that. I do think there's almost like a resignation with Max. Now, if that's true, what could? I mean, I was expecting more of a toys out the pram experience, being that he wasn't competitive. He's normally very feisty on it with his comments and demanding and basically saying, I'm not dealing with this, it's no good, it's got to change. And he has said a few things, but I think maybe he can see that within the team, there are such substantial problems that it's no good him just coming on the radio and saying, I'm not happy. That then begs the question, what's the reason for the change? Hill says maybe it's that Verstappen knows he won't be in the situation for much longer, as he's already decided to leave Red Bull with both Mercedes and Aston Martin courting his services. I mean, there's been all sorts of talk about him talking to other teams, said Hill. He's got to think of the future. Where is the direction of travel from now on if Red Bull are not competitive? And so those things can. Maybe he's got his future sorted out, you know. Maybe he doesn't have to rant because he knows it's going to change. Lando Norris has insisted that Oscar Piastri does not owe me one, despite playing a role in his McLaren teammate's victory at last weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And he confirmed that his contribution in holding up Sergio Perez in Baku did not fall under McLaren's so-called papaya rules system. Piastri collected his second career victory in Azerbaijan, withstanding pressure from Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc to add to his Hungarian Grand Prix success in July. The Australian's latest win came after Norris's own hopes were damaged in qualifying on Saturday when he was knocked out in Q1. Norris recovered to finish fourth, one place ahead of F1 2024 title rival Max Verstappen, after slowing down the Red Bull driver's teammate Sergio Perez as the pit stops unfolded. Norris's efforts prevented Perez from undercutting Piastri, who proceeded to overtake Leclerc for the lead of the race. Speaking to DAZN Spain after the race, Norris insisted that he does not expect Piastri to repay the favor with his move to hold up Perez, who was denied a first podium finish since April after a late crash with Carlos Sainz, not counting as McLaren team orders. He said, "Those are not papaya rules. I saved a bit more tire in the middle sector and helped my teammate, and maybe that allowed him to win." Asked if Piastri owes him one, Norris added, "I wouldn't say he owes me one. I'm happy to play my part." McLaren have taken the lead of the Constructors' Championship for the first time since the start of the 2014 season, with the team now holding a 20-point lead over Red Bull with 7 races remaining. Norris was pleased to play a part in McLaren's 4th victory of F1 2024, yet admitted he was left with a sense of what could have been after starting a lowly 15th. He explained, "It was a good day. We didn't expect to finish 4th, so I'm very happy with the result. I'm happy with the pace and with Oscar's win. Me finishing 4th is better than we could have hoped for. It's a good result, and the bonus is the Constructors' Championship. To be back at the top for the first time in years and years, to be part of that and to play my role is great. I'm very happy for the whole team because they deserve it. They've worked hard. We started the year 4th or 5th, and now we are the fastest team. The truth is that Checo has been very quick. Red Bull clearly don't have a bad car, even though it's maybe difficult to drive, which is what was happening to us a few months ago. Now it's been a difficult few weekends for us. We were able to capitalize by finishing ahead of Max, and that was perfect, and of course we were lucky to have a 2-car accident at the front. But Oscar taking the win made qualifying all the more frustrating, because it was horrible and unfair on the sporting side. It ruined my weekend, which sucks because I'm fighting for a championship, and I could have had a better result, but if I look at the race, I think I maximized the result. I'm happy with the race, but not with the weekend. When I came here to Baku, I didn't expect to get so high. Even in the middle of the race, Carlos and Max stopped and were behind me, and I was on 25-lap tires, and I thought I had no chance. I was able to defend well from Max, get off the back of Alex Albon, and the pace was unbelievable. The race was a good day, but it makes you wonder what could have been if what happened in qualifying hadn't have happened. That's it for today's video. I'll see you around.